So we have added functionality to upload photos on cloud in our previous video. In this video, we will update our application to store the public links of the images in our database. And then we will update our Angular application to display property images from the cloud. We will also see how to set a photo as a primary photo that will be displayed here on the property card. So without further ado, let's go ahead and implement these functionalities next. So at present, our property controller is just uploading the images on Cloudinary, and those images are stored here in the media library. Whenever we upload an image, a unique ID is allocated to each image by the API. This unique ID is something we need to pass in our photo service to retrieve or delete the photo from the Cloudinary. So first of all, we need to add one more field in our photos entity so that we can store unique ID in our database table as well. Let's add one more property of type string, name it public ID and mark it as required field. And as we have made changes in the entity, we need to add a new migration to add public ID to the photo table in the database. Migration added successfully. Now we can run the database update command. But before that, it is always better to review the created migration so that we can remove the migration if needed and make the required changes at early stage. Because after applying migration to the database, it is a little lengthy process to roll back the applied migration. And if your application is on production, then it becomes more difficult to roll back an applied migration. So our migration is adding a new column and the label is false, and the down method is just dropping this new column. So we are okay to run the database update command now. Yup, it is successfully applied. We can verify the same in the database. Refresh the column list. Yup, a new field is added in the photo table. So now we have the required fields in our database. We can update our property controller to push the photo information in the database. So this is the API endpoint we are using to upload the photo. User will upload a photo against the property ID. I can see I have made a mistake here. These two parameter name should be the same, otherwise it will not work. So first of all, we need to fetch the property in a variable from our database against which we would like to add the photo. We already have a method in our property repository to get the property details that we can access using unit of work dot property repository, and select this get property details async method. Pass the property ID that we will get from our API caller. Next, we need to add another var for photo equal new photo to instantiate the new photo object and set the required property of this object. If you look at the property model, we already have the references of the photo class here as iCollection. That means against one property, we can add multiple properties. Let's set the image URL of the photo that is uploaded on Cloudinary. We can get the public URL of the uploaded image using the result.secure URI. And select absolute URI to get the absolute path of the image URL. Also set the public ID of the image that we can get using a result.public ID. Next, we will check if a photo of this property already exists. If photos.count is 0, that means this is the first photo of the property that is being uploaded. And we would like to set the first photo as the primary photo. Primary photo will be displayed on the property card here on the list page. So we have all the info related to the property. Now we can add this photo to the database using property.photos.add and pass the photo object here as a parameter. Up to this point, everything is in memory and that is not saved in the database. And we need to use unit of work dot save async method to save the photo in the database. So everything has been coded. We are ready to test the functionality. If you look at the media library on the Cloudinary, these are the 3 photos available at present. We will upload a new photo now, and this time a property ID is important here, because if we pass the wrong ID here, the system will not fetch any property from the database and photos will not be saved in the database. So we can query the properties table and copy the valid property ID to pass here in our API endpoint. Let me get the latest bearer token so that I do not get unauthorized error, and pass it here in authorization header as a bearer token. Currently, there is no data in this photo table. After submission of our API request, a new record should be created here and one more photo should be added here on the Cloudinary media library. Let's select a different image that was not already uploaded and send the request. But we got an error that the object reference is not set to an instance of an object. And this error is appearing on line number 78 of the property controller. Means here we are not getting photo object. Let's go to the property repository. This is the method we are calling in our controller to get the property. I think I got the problem. Here we have included all the references table, but the photo entity is not included. So similar to other entities, we need to include photos as well here like this. Save it and retest. Yep, this time we got 201 status here. Here we are getting 200. It should be same. Seems I have mistakenly used OK status code in controller. We will correct it soon in this video only. Let's check if our new photo is added on the Cloudinary. Yup, this new photo is added, and also a new entry should be created in our photo table with the unique public ID. Yup, a new row is successfully added here as well. And this public ID is the same as the ID is displayed here. This image URL is the public path of our image that anyone can access in the browser by putting this URL in the browser. So our functionality is working quite well, but some fine tuning we can do in our API. At present, we are including all the associated entities here in this method, but in order to upload the photo, we just need to include a photo entity. Including other entities will create overhead in database query, because entity framework will create a query to join all of these tables. And it is always good to perform joins only on the required tables for faster query execution. So to optimize this, we can add another method. Let's make a copy of this method and rename it to get property by ID. You can name it whatever that makes sense to you. Remove all other entities. And as we are accessing this repository using interface, we need to add this method in iProperty repository as well. Let's use this new method now in our controller in place of this get property detail async method, and try to add one more image to check if everything is still working fine. Yup, request is successful now. Refresh the media library on Cloudinary. Yes, new image is appearing here. Let's query the photo table. Yup, here as well, new record is created. And see, this was not the first image that we were uploading this time. Is primary flag is set to 0 for this new record. So our new API endpoint is working fine. Let's update our controller to correct the status code issue. We have used the OK status code here that we use for fetching the records usually. But here, as we are creating the resources, we should use created at root. We will understand created at root method later in this tutorial, but for now it is okay to simply return status code 201 here. So now we have photos path as well in our database. We can use those images URL in our Angular application to display the images from the Cloudinary. Let's see how we can do that next. So if we look at our Angular application and check what we are doing on clicking on this detail link, open browser's developer tool and select this network monitor to trace the request we are sending behind the scene on our web API. Click on this detail link and see there is one API request going to our API from our Angular application. This is the API endpoint we are calling. And if we look at the response of this API request, we are getting a property details in JSON format. This is just a raw JSON format. And if we want this JSON to appear in a well formatted way, we can use a third party site JSON view.stack.hu. Here in the text tab, we can just paste our JSON plain text. And in the view tab, we can see the well formatted JSON with the different nodes. At present, we are just returning all property details except the photo detail associated with this property. And if we want to display associated photos as well on the property detail component, we need to include a photo collection as well in this JSON data. We already have included photo entity in our property detail method in this video only, but we need to include the same in property detail DTO as well, so that it should appear in our JSON response also. Let's add a new property of type iCollection of generic type. We need to bring it from system.collection.generics, and here we can pass the type that we would like to add in this collection. So we want to add a photo here, bring in webapi.models namespace. And just to remind you, as a best practice, we should never expose our domain entity like this. But I just wanted to show you a problem that will happen if we will use photo domain here. Name it photos. So we are already returning photos from our property detail method in our repository. Logically, it should automatically be mapped in our property controller, and associated photos should be added in our JSON response. But let me show you that it will throw an error if now we will try to call this API endpoints to get the property detail. We get a self-referencing loop error. This is really a very common problem when you work with the entity frameworks, and it is happening because when the entity framework tries to output a model, it has to traverse the full chain of models to output a JSON response. So it takes our photo model and try to serialize it, which points to the property, and it goes to the property and try to serialize it, and again it finds a photo entity here, and it will try to go back to the photo entity, and in this way it gets stuck in an endless loop, which results in a self-referencing loop error. There are a lot of different ways to resolve this issue, but the best option is to create separate DTO for the purpose and use those DTOs to render the response. For other solutions, I have provided the link below in description if you would like to see other solutions as well to this problem. We will go with the best approach and create a photo DTO. And we will take only 3 mandatory fields here that we need to render our photo in Angular application. One is image URL that we will use to fetch the property photo from Cloudinary. And the second one is public ID of that image file on the cloud. And the third one is the Boolean flag to check if the photo is primary photo or not. And now we can use this DTO in place of our photo domain object, and it doesn't contain any reference loop now, so that error should not appear now. Let me remove the namespaces that we are not using as well as a cleanup. So we have added a new DTO, and obviously we need to map the same in our AutoMapper profile also. Otherwise it will not work and throw some error. So create a map between photo and photos DTO here, just like we are doing for the other DTOs. Save it, and if now we will try to call this endpoint to get the property detail, perfect, it is now successfully loaded, and it also contains the associated photos as well. Let's copy this and try to see it on the JSON viewer site. Paste it here in the text. You can see now we are getting one more node here for the photos that contains 3 photos associated with the property, and it contains those 3 fields that we just have added in the photo DTO. So now we have all the required info of property that we are displaying here on photo detail component. And next we will update our Angular application to display these images from the Cloudinary. Let's close all open files and close all folders as well. Go to the property detail component where we have all the logic that is showing the image gallery. So this is the code where we are using a static array to load the images. Now we need to make it dynamic to load from the URLs we will receive from the web API. If we go to the top of this component, here in ng-onInit method, we are getting the data in property object that we are retrieving from our API. But if we look at the list of fields this property object contains, I can see there is no photos collection field here. So first of all, we need to update this model to add a photo collection property so that we can retrieve the array of images in this property object. Here at the bottom, we will add a new property of the photo collection. Let's add a new type for the photo. Let's keep the same naming for these files. We need to take all those 3 fields that we had added in our photo DTO in our web API. One is image URL, second one is public ID, and third is primary flag. And add this new type here in the property. Make it optional. It should be an array as we will get multiple photos associated with the property in this field. Import this class here. Now we should get photos here in the list. And to verify if we are getting the photos list in this variable, we can output the same in the console.log. Refresh the page and open the console tab in the developer tool. Yup, we are getting the photos list in an array for the associated properties. So next we are going to bind this URL in our image gallery. Let's add a new method to get the property photos, and this method should return an array of images. Let's take the same type as of this gallery image variable so that we can get the IntelliSense for these properties. Take a constant to get the photo URLs in an object as per the ngx gallery image format. Initialize it with a blank array. And in a for loop, we will get each photo from the property dot photos. And we will push each image in the photo URLs and set 3 mandatory properties to set the image URL for small, medium, and big image. In our case, we have the same URL for all of these 3 types of images. And finally return this photo URLs from this function. Now we can use this function here to get property photos from API. Save it and check if it is appearing in our Angular application. Perfect. Now we are getting these images from the Cloudinary. Let's try to add one more image from this property and see if it reflects here. So photo uploaded successfully. Refresh the page. Yup, new photos start to appear here. Next, we need to display the primary photo here on the card. These images already contains the primary photo, and at present we are showing this image in our HTML template from our static image folder. We just need to replace this URL here with our primary photo URL from the Cloudinary. Not a big deal. We can add one more property here to get main photo URL. It should be the type of string, and let's initialize it with a null string. And we simply need to set this property in our get property photos method here. We will check if the current photo is primary. Then we will set the main photo URL equals photo.image URL. That's it. Now we can replace our static URL to main photo URL that we are receiving from the API. We need to replace it here as well in the ng if condition. Save it, and yup, now we are getting the main photos here, but I do not want this main photo to appear here in the gallery. So to remove the main photo from the image gallery, we just need to put this code in the else part of this if statement. That's it. Now our main photo is not appearing here in this image gallery. So we have updated our application to display these images from the Cloudinary as promised. In our next video, we will update our application to display the main photo from the cloud here on the list page. We will also add two more methods in our API. One for deleting the photos, and another method we will add to set the primary photo as per our customer preference. At present we are setting this first photo as the primary key, and there is no control of the user on that to change the primary photo. So we will implement all of this functionality in our next lesson. So see you in the next video. Stay tuned. Bye bye.